Hello, and welcome back to episode 7.
We'll do them all one by one this time. We've got Theseus. His parents are Poseidon and Aethra. On the road to Athens, Theseus had to fight 6 battles. He defeated 4 bandits, 1 monster pig, and 1 giant, winning every battle through strength and cunningness. We've got Orpheus next. His parents were Apollo and the muse Calliope. Orpheus fell deep in love with a nymph named Eurydice and married her. His brother also loved her and wished to marry her as well. Love triangle. Eurydice, of course, said no, but then she was bitten by a viper, Orpheus's brother. I would slap my brother if he did that to me. Like, slap him hard enough to send him to the underworld. Orpheus journeyed down to the underworld with nothing but his lyre. That's like a weird kind of ukulele sort of thing they had back then. He charmed the ferryman, Charon, if you remember, of the dead and the 3-headed dog who guarded the gates of hell. Come on, don't shake your head and don't scratch your heads. You know who that is. Cerberus, great big fluffy dog. I say fluffy to a degree. He even charmed Hades and Persephone into allowing him to take back Eurydice. That takes a lot of skill, if you ask me. Like, I'd be, bricking it the whole time. I'd be like, let me take her back, please. And they'd say no and strike me down where I stood. But Hades decided to take pity upon him, and he allowed Orpheus to take Eurydice back on the condition he did not turn around. Orpheus nearly made it, but then felt, when you almost feel like someone's watching you? Yeah? He didn't feel Eurydice behind him anymore, so by reflex he turned around and she disappeared because he violated the rule. She disappeared into the underworld and never came out again. You know what? If I was Orpheus, I would storm up to my brother and slap him so hard to send his soul to Tartarus and back, and then I would kill him. That is not okay, bro, even if you love her. And then we've got Prometheus. I mentioned him a few episodes ago, actually. His parents were Iapetus. Well, one of his parents was Iapetus, and the other rumoured one is Clemency. Although, I've never personally heard of her before, so I'm not 100%. But anywho, Prometheus, as I mentioned, made the first man from clay and gave them fire. Remember that? Good. Also remember what absolute prat Zeus did by taking out his liver every day for helping humans? Please, if humans weren't made, no one would believe in them and they'd fade away. That's what happens to a god when people don't believe in them anymore, did you know? They fade away. There's no use for them anymore. Quite sad, really. Then we've got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Perseus. Perseus's parents are Danae and the god Zeus. He's slain Medusa. He cut her head off without even being turned into stone. That's quite clever. Do you know how he did it, though? He used her reflection in the shield. Because it was never direct eye contact, it doesn't count as eye contact, She couldn't turn him into stone unless she gazed directly into his eyes. I suppose it'd be different if she wore glasses, but looking in a mirror is different. Next, we've got Odysseus. Odysseus' dad was Laertes. Nobody really knows who Odysseus' mother was, but there are lots of different circulations in where Hera's his mum in one of them, Demeter's his mother in another. But who knows? Maybe they're both his mum. Greek mythology is going to Greek mythology. Odysseus had to take part in a perilous journey back home from war. Come on, as if the man hasn't already been through enough. They make him go through different challenges from the gods. But you know what? When I was done, I wouldn't even bother with them. I'd be like, bye, I'm done with you. But the challenges put forward from the gods were 12 flasks of wine from Apollo, fierce sea storms from Poseidon, lotus eaters from Hera. He had to blind Polyphemus. He met with the sorceresses Circe and probably had a child with her. Poseidon made more sea storms for blinding his son, Polyphemus. And when they were shipwrecked, his men from his ship decided to eat some animals that were sacred to the god Helios, and he struck them down where they stood. Odysseus finally washed up on Calypso's island. She birthed a son for him, and finally he made the final part home, getting trapped in a sea storm once again. All of this could have been avoided if they'd just not given him the challenges. He wouldn't have needed to blind Poseidon's son. He wouldn't have abandoned 2 of his children. there wouldn't be angry women and angry gods, and none of his men would all still be alive. This is all your fault, Apollo and Poseidon. Ridiculous. Then we've got Jason. If you know the film Jason and the Argonauts, that kind of Jason. That Jason. His father is Aeson. No one knows who his mother is. Like, no sources at all even point towards him even having a mother. Although, Aeson's not a god or anyone of power, so there has to be somebody out there who gave birth to him. But anywho, after being announced as the king's successor, the king set Jason the task of acquiring the Golden Fleece before he would ascend the throne. Jason acquired a boat called the Argo and assembled a group of followers for his quest. They later succeeded in their mission. You all know what the Golden Fleece is, surely. Disgraceful. The Golden Fleece apparently has untold healing abilities, and it can even bring somebody back from the dead. Yeah, it's also worth a significant portion of ka-ching, 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 if you get what I mean. It was guarded by Polyphemus. You know, the guy Odysseus blinded. Yeah, him. He guarded the Golden Fleece. Apparently, although there's nothing confirmed, apparently Jason identified himself as I am nobody when he tried to steal the Golden Fleece from Polyphemus. And with Polyphemus being blind, he believed him. He believed this man was nobody. He believed his name was no one. Quite manipulative, if you ask me. But then again, you have to be back then.
Next up, we've got Achilles. Oh, come on, you all know who Achilles is. Achilles' heel. Yeah? Good. Glad you know. Before I actually talk about Achilles, when he was born, his mother Thetis, you must remember her, the sea nymph. If you don't remember her, go back to one of my earlier episodes, you'll find her mentioned. But when Achilles was born, she wanted to make him immortal, so he wouldn't undo any harm that was put upon him. So she took him down to the underworld and literally dipped him in the river Styx, much like you would strawberry to a chocolate. But she dipped him in and held him by the tip of his heel and held him in. She didn't put her fingers in, which means a tiny bit of his foot she was holding was raw. That wasn't protected. Achilles was then practically immortal to absolutely everything that hit his skin, apart from one small part on his foot. You'd have thought that probably would have been one of the best protected. You'd have probably thought that that would have been one of the best protected places in the world. No, the Greeks wore sandals, which means it was one of the most exposed places. But thinking at a different standpoint view, it could also be one of the best hidden ones, because no one would think, oh, this man's tied his lifeline to the bottom of his foot. You know, anyone could just flick it and end his existence. So it's quite clever when you put it into a little bit of context. During the Trojan War, which you remember, Achilles was absolutely unstoppable. He was a beast. He killed many of Troy's greatest warriors. Many of the Greek gods were involved, some helping the Greeks and others helping the Trojans. This was deeply frowned upon back then, because gods are not supposed to get involved in any business that involves humans, be it demigods or ordinary people. They're not supposed to get involved. It's biased. They're not supposed to be biased. But they did, and that's how Achilles died. I'll get to that in a bit. Achilles captured a princess during the war and fell madly in love with her. Unfortunately, the Grecian army leader took her away from him. Being a child, Achilles basically laid on the floor, threw his cup at the wall and went, "I'm not fighting, give me her back." The leader refused, so Achilles refused to fight. With him not fighting, the Greeks began to lose the battle. The greatest warrior of Troy was Hector, and nobody could stop him. Achilles' best friend was a soldier. He convinced Achilles to lend him his armour. His best friend entered the battle dressed as Achilles. Thinking that he was back, the Greek army were inspired and began to fight harder. Hector struck down his best friend and he died. After learning of his best friend's death, Achilles rejoined the battle in order to avenge him. He met Hector on the battlefield and, after a long and gruesome fight, he defeated him. Achilles continued to battle the Trojans and it seemed like he couldn't be killed. However, the Greek god Apollo knew his weakness. When Paris of Troy shot an arrow at Achilles, Apollo guided it so it struck him on his heel. Achilles died from the wound. That's like, if there were laws back in ancient Greece, that would be severely illegal. A god is not supposed to get involved, especially not direct interference like that. If I was Achilles' mother, I would slap him so hard.